Hey, and welcome to TSOB. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who are interested in investing or starting their own funds. We are Adam Anderson and Zach Eikenberry. Join us to get a behind-the-scenes look at the relationships between founding entrepreneurs and the VCs that invest in them.
So where are you calling out of today, Adam?
I just flew in to Tampa, Florida. I am sitting here along the rivery thing that goes through Tampa. I don't know what it's called, but it's beautiful. It's got a whole bunch of people exercising and walking, and I'm like, I could get down there, and I probably will later on today, but I walked enough last week in South by Southwest. I feel like I really hit my quota for like the month. So yeah, I've got some meetings today with some potential investors, and I've got going to be plugging in with some of the local cybersecurity community. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. What about you?
I'm in Lakeland, Florida today. I'm just in the office. I myself, being at South by Southwest last week, as you mentioned, still have some things to follow up on. Projects internally to hook security and what have you. So that's taking a lot of my time this week today. So
follow-ups from South by Southwest, or because you were at South by Southwest?
It's both at this point. Yeah. So I'm one of those few people that when somebody says follow up with me, business card, etc., I go out of my way to do it.
Yeah.
There was years ago on St. Patrick's Day, I hung out. I was at a bar and down in Charleston, South Carolina.
You at a bar? Yeah. That's weird. Okay, tell me more.
I know, it was weird. I was doing missions work.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I was by myself, and I'm waiting in line at the restroom. Apparently, everybody else has been drinking water like me. And there was a older man, African American guy in front of me, and we just started chatting and talking. And at the time, I was doing government contracting. He was down there for a government contract, so he hands me his business card and says, "Hey, man, good to meet you. Let's follow up tomorrow. Let's talk about ways in which we might be able to help each other out." And the next day, first thing in the morning, because I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I go out of my way to fire up my laptop and send him a thank you for his card and his opportunity to chat and to talk about ways in which we could partner. And he literally called me later that day because, I don't know if you know this, Adam, the old school way of getting business done is to actually pick up the phone and call somebody. So he called me, and years later, he was in my wedding, and we had built a school together in Greenville, South Carolina. And so
the moral of the story is spend more time alone in bars. Am I taking away the no? Oh no, wait, you're meaning I'm sorry, I missed the whole thread. It's get back to people in a aggressively optimistic fashion. Like, if you give me your card, I'm going to reach out to you.
I do, and I've kept up that habit ever since. Or if I do not intend to get back with somebody, I'll say, I will get back with you sometime in the future if it makes sense. I hope we cross paths again. Like, I'll say something to the extent of do not expect a call from me. But this leads to the bigger principle. Like, I think I shared this out on LinkedIn the other day. I believe there's one thing you need to do if you're a venture capitalist to be the best in the world. And that is do the thing you said you're going to do. Send that email.
Yep.
I think
even if it's a no.
Key. Even if it's no, even if it's like you yourself have heartburn on it and you just want to see them say a couple things differently so you can be a yes, and you want them to grow, and you want to see if their new product iteration does well, and you want to see if they hire that person. You just want to drag your feet and be still friends with them in case the investment opportunity becomes obvious. Even if that's the case, just say yes or no. where they are now because the founder, the entrepreneur, doesn't have time for ambiguity, doesn't have time to decide on false narratives and try to determine your motivation, determine where they stand, where they don't stand, etc. Clarity is kindness. Send the email, especially if you tell somebody. I can't tell you, over half of the VCs that I've talked to while fundraising do not get back to you by the time they said they're going to get back to you. Well over half.
Yeah. Guilty. I've got a portfolio company that we're interviewing sitting in my email. Now, I did tell the guy that I would get back to him when we had full money in and it was an appropriate time. So I did set expectations. And then he sent me an email saying, hey, I hope you're doing okay. Here's just some quick updates. Want to keep you in the loop. In your opinion, should I reply back to him with the same sense of urgency? Or should I be like, okay, well, I told you when I was going to get back to you. So where would you do in that particular point?
I would let him know if you're giving him a conditional trigger, keep him updated on the trigger and the condition of the trigger. Right. So that to me, that's the fairness of it.
So he gave me his update, and now that was his polite way of saying, where are you on your conditional trigger?
Right. Even if it's no progress, say, to this point, we've experienced no progress on the trigger that would allow us to move forward. I'm currently working diligently on this. Please reach out to me in June if you don't hear from me before, and I'll give you another update then.
Beauty.
Right? That's the clarity, that's kindness, right? And you give them the action and then permission to do so they don't feel like they're nagging you. And they go, oh, okay, he's giving me the instructions, he's giving me what he can. I get it. There are conditional things out there that even he can't control. And if I want to reach out to him, I can.
Yeah. And I should end that with
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I should end that with it's not a me problem, it's a you problem, or just do everything correctly and then fail right at the end by having a
Well, I think that's the other part of it too, is a good VC is going to respect the entrepreneur's time. And I mean, they do expect that the entrepreneur respects their time, but VCs, if I have to have another VC or somebody in venture capital, maybe they're not the general partner, maybe they're just an associate or an investor or whatever the term is, have to tell me how busy they are. I can guarantee no matter what the VC thinks, if they've grown up in the VC world and they have all sorts of self-imposed deadlines and constantly trying to react and trying to get analysis, they are no busier than a high-functioning founder CEO. They are not.
I can even push back. So I'm on both sides. I am in the most busy time, or in one of the most busy times, which is to get everything ready and build the whole thing and go after LPs and align with cities and all these things. And most of my time is spent thinking big thoughts as I'm waiting for action to happen. The 80-20 rule is super in effect. Now I can get it that when we enter into due diligence and when we actually are having portfolios coming in and all of that, but that's looking at other people's stuff. It's not creating. So I will just say this, I'll be very bold. I have started companies and I have started firms that invest. And the entrepreneurial hustle on the founder side of a tech/SaaS company, there's no competition. It's a candle versus a flamethrower, dude.
Yeah, and you can make a case that everybody has 40 hours or 80 hours or 100 whatever hours in a week, and they're all utilizing it however they best can. We all have the same amount of time, and so maybe there's parity. Maybe VCs are equally as busy, but when it comes to the amount of productivity expected out of a day, the amount of stress in the environment, come on now, I have to hear these VCs or these investor entrepreneurs say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, things have been so busy here. We have a LP meeting coming up, and I'm slammed with that, and so therefore, you know, I'm busy, and it's
Well,
probably not like you're just like, come on, man, we can be busy. You can be busy. That's fine, but you're preaching at somebody who's just as busy. So
yeah,
be deferential.
maybe I was a little too harsh. At the end of the day, you can only experience the maximum amount that you personally have experienced. So if you have never been more busy in your entire life with the thing that you're doing, then that is going to come across in your mindset and in your experiences as the busiest any other human being could ever be. So you're at your maximum red line. You're going to assume that everyone realizes that that's your maximum red line, and therefore that should be honored. But if you're like, yeah, that's great, man, but I've redlined way over. Yeah, anyway, it's not a competition at this point, is what I'm hearing you say. You're being very magnanimous and saying, I just would like equal parity in the fact that we're all very, very busy. Don't be a douchebag. Or
Yeah,
don't use
just
that as an excuse.
just
Yeah.
don't use that as an excuse. Like there's reasons to back out of a deal.
Yeah.
And like I get it. You have to be polite in the grand scheme of things, because VCs, if they don't invest this time, they might want to invest another time. They might have other founders, etc. that talk. There are VCs I don't talk to right now because some of my friends had bad experiences with them as VCs. And I was even put onto a tool just this last week at South by Southwest where they're creating this grading system for VCs by
Oh,
founders,
yeah.
right? Because
I wonder if that's a dog with teeth. That could just be an emotional flex, but it might have teeth.
well, I don't, right? Like at the end of the day, you might end up just taking the money anyway, right? Like even if you don't like them and the situation's not exactly as you see fit or ideal for you as a founder, even
Mhm.
if all your other founder buddies are like, don't do it, man. Those people are snakes in the grass. I do
Yeah.
think going in eyes wide open and having more information about the black box that is the VC world as a founder is helpful. So,
Yeah. Well, and honestly, it gets you, especially at the Series A level and maybe even higher. The reputation really, really matters. I think that as you are early stage, you're just desperate for anyone to give you affirmation through the form of a check, and you're willing to pay almost any price to get going. But as you have hit the million ARR, as you begin to get to the point where you're kind of the prize, and you're exactly what every VC is looking for. You have the velocities right, you got the revenues right, you've got the team right, you got the product market fit right, and everyone's like, now we want to deploy capital. I can see that kind of tool being super, super valuable because you've experienced it. The phone rings, and now you've got multiple VCs buying to put money in, and having that kind of scorecard out there, and you can refer to whatever. Do you remember the name of the thing?
I think it was the founder suite, folks. I'll look it
Okay.
up right now.
Yeah, but I can see how that works. It really is a two-way exchange of value, right? It really is. So by the way, I just got a super weird smell coming off of this Tampa water. Makes me pine for the weird smells of Austin, Texas. I'm not saying this is better. I'm also not saying it's worse. But let's as you're looking that up, let's segue back into South by Southwest. It was the first time that I have been to a conference where my primary responsibility and primary identity was that as an investor into early stage cybersecurity companies, where I was introduced as the managing general partner. I was, all my conversations were around that. And the amount of connections I made from other venture fund people who were like, "Oh, I know your journey, I know exactly where you are." I felt like I was on the inside of a new ecosystem, and it was crazy. Oh, I see a dolphin. That's weird. Maybe that's the smell. Um, So that was a really kind of trippy experience, and I loved it. I loved being in those rooms. So special thanks to you and to all of your buddies. Basically leverage Zach's network in order to get into a lot of these places. And no, it was a great experience. And I had some really, really cool conversations. And most of them were around venture fund people, talking about strategies for finding deal flow, for positioning, but almost all of the most fascinating ones were, how do we meet the needs of limited partners so that they continue to invest? It was exactly the same story as startup founders, where how do we get in touch with the VCs to get them the right checks? Well, the VCs are sitting here thinking, how do I find the right LPs to align with so that they back my fund? It's like the pyramid just keeps getting more and more narrow, more and more narrow. It seems like there's always a scarcity of funds the higher you go. And yet we know that there is abundance of money in the world. And so maybe not this podcast, but maybe the next one, I would love to nerd out on the flow of money through this entire ecosystem. But that was my hot take. My hot take from South by Southwest was, man, it is a different experience when you show up saying you are a thing and you're intentional about what you're doing. And I had a real good experience networking with other venture capital guys. I think I'll probably do this again.
Yeah, I have another similar hot take, in that if you show up to an event like South by Southwest, and we didn't do the music scene or the speaker scene, we did the media houses and the venture capital events and the entrepreneurial things. Thank you to things like Grit Daily House and Capital Factory, and the Austin Venture Association, which is a cool group. The more that you have clarity on what you are there to offer and to give people, the more people know how to direct you.
That's so
and
true.
To give you, and it's not about what you're there to get. Like if you show up to South by Southwest and you want to get things, you're leaving your success up to chance, up to the gods, whether or not serendipity and timing and the person you're there to get from, if they're sober or not. But if you're there to give, then the timing's always right to give a gift. And if you know if you know what you're there to give, so that's one of the things I took away. I've known that principle before, but I did not exercise it at South by Southwest like I should have. And it would have provided a lot more clarity for me, to say, okay, here's what I'm here to give. And when I shake people's hands, like, I'm here to give you guys this. I'm here, or maybe even use that language. I've showed up to South by Southwest to give the world opportunities to, invest in yes, whatever it is. I'm here to give the world opportunities to know, or to give people the insight into new security awareness training solutions, etc.
Well, and the interesting part of that means, it isn't that clarity means that you only stick to your talking points. You're not a politician doing a series of 2-minute interviews. Got to be on message. It's what I discovered is that you tell people how you can help, what you're there for, and then you have a really fun conversation. And maybe what you're there to help people with sparks a thing, but at the end of it, what they want first is to just get to know you a little bit. Wow. Tampa doing its thing. That was a big truck. Fun fact, Zach and I and one of our buddies, Parker, were riding scooters here in Tampa, and Zach was sitting at a corner waiting patiently, and a guy got really impatient and zoomed by him. I believe he said a colorful metaphor. I think he said a cuss word at you. I don't know. But seconds later.
I don't know these cuss words. You'll have to tell me what they are sometimes.
Well, hang out in the bar by yourself more in Charleston. You'll learn some more. And dude got hit by a car pulling out of the parking garage. Seriously, seconds later. Karma was immediate. And on the one hand, I was like, oh, that poor human. But on the other hand, I was like, yeah, well, there's a reason we weren't going fast. Maybe you should have just come out and waited with us. Anyway, Tampa memory, back to South by Southwest. What I've found is that I kept bumping into the same people in the same networking events. And over the course of 3 or 4 conversations at 3 or 4 events, you build know, like, and trust. But there were another class who were like, here's my card, call me immediately. Here's my card, call me immediately. And they were just moving through deploying their card rather than trying to understand at all what I was doing. And the people who slow down, have a cool conversation, are able to show empathy, those are the people I found myself following up with and blowing up my LinkedIn. So I'm already scheduling conversations with all these folks.
I want to clarify too, when you show up to give a gift, like, the gift isn't you per se. I'm not there to impress people. It's not, because it could put a lot of pressure on yourself.
That's me. I'm the gift, 100%.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Just to clarify, we're talking about Zach's journey here, okay? Not for everybody, right. but this is his belief system.
Being a performer wears me out if I feel like I am performing or I have to show up to an event. And I found myself tired after a couple of events, and I was like, why am I tired? Oh, I showed up and I cared what people thought of me personally. And I was so self-conscious that I was wearing myself out, overcoming my own self-consciousness and trying to, like, all right, I need to talk to more people. I need to do this. And versus letting the event flow, let the event come to you, right? Not feel pressure out of the gate to do all these certain things. And then, have a talking point or a thing to give people that's not about you per se, right? I'm at South by Southwest. You're going to meet a bunch of people who graduated from Stanford and Harvard, and they tell you that immediately, even if it was 40 years later or 40 years earlier. So that's not the gift I'm talking about. I'm not talking about showing up and impressing people. I'm saying showing up and having something to put on the table or something interesting to pull out of your pocket and be like, did you know that this is possible? And people go, what? You're like, yeah, this is what I'm here to talk about. This is my thing. This is what I'm here to offer.
Well, maybe let's reflect on some of the gifts we were given. Like, while you're saying this, I immediately was like, I think your name was Cassie. She's like, oh no, that how you're thinking about doing funds of funds are wrong, and let me show you what we did, and here's how you handle ABC. And it was like, in, I don't know, a 4 or 5 minute conversation, she gave me the gift of months worth of research and knowledge. And so the gifts that are really resonating with me is when somebody saw me, heard what I was saying, and was brave enough and kind enough to correct a core belief that I was holding, and they were able to disrupt that core belief in a way that got me curious again. So if I go through all these gifts that I was given at South by Southwest, it was somebody giving me permission or inviting me to be curious about something that I thought I knew, or bringing me into a new relationship with somebody who they thought might be able to assist me. And yeah, I like the way you're putting this. What were the gifts you were given, and what gifts did you give?
Yeah, I like that language too. Maybe one day I'll have worn out the language, but I mean, I think about it even interpersonally and culturally. Like, I had a conversation with an employee this morning, and I was pointing out to him, listen, when you show up to a meeting, that's a gift to the rest of the team. If you show up wondering what the team's going to give you, what am I getting out of this meeting? How do I get something out? It's such a waste of time. I didn't get anything out of it. Then you're missing the point of your contribution to the meeting. You're missing the point of, I'm showing up to give something. Now, you can decide what the meeting type is, if it's a discussion, debate, or a dialogue, right? And participate in those ways, but depending on the context, but as a general stance, if you walk in and out of life asking what you're going to get out of them, I think you open yourself up to a lot of things you can't control, bringing in a lot of chaos and a lot of disappointment. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
like you're like if I were to circle back to like you being in Tampa, like the discussions that you're looking to have in Tampa are about what can you bring to Tampa? What can you give Tampa? What can you not what
Yeah.
can Tampa give you? You know?
Well,
And
that's
so
yeah. Let's unpack that a bit. So I am here plugging into the Tampa network. And what I'm not doing is holding out my hand, please, limited partners, write checks. What I'm saying is, hey, I have this amazing fund that can really help any city put them on the map for being a cybersecurity center of influence. What I'd like to know is, do you believe that this is a good fit for Tampa, and does it help Tampa? And what I'm looking for is clarity. I want you to be able to say, no, 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 no. We have so many funds. We're all good. We don't need another fund. Or I want to be invited in to say, you are absolutely right. The gift that you're bringing me of being able to have a fund that invests in early stage cybersecurity companies is exactly what our ecosystem needs. And we'd love to explore that with you. Because one is a gift that is enriching the people who are the giver and the receiver. And the other model is, I'm desperate, please give me what I need. And we hear all this. If you've done any kind of sales training, you know that if you sound desperate or if you come demanding things, often you don't get it. And you know, you're describing the same kind of interaction for networking. So while I'm down here, I've got 2 or 3 really important conversations to have. And part of it's bonding and rapport. Do we know, like, and trust each other? But second is there alignment for the gift I want to give you? Have you ever gotten a gift you hate? Like, I hate getting gifts because usually they buy me the wrong thing and it's not the kind of kegerator I want. And actually, anytime someone gives you a kegerator, you just be happy. That's awesome. But you gave me a plant. I don't want a damn plant. I have to take care of that damn plant. That's not a gift. That's a response. Being a gift giver, some people are truly, amazing at it. I find that I'm not a very good gift giver. And I'm going to start looking at my interactions with human beings, started with me down here in Tampa. Hey, I don't want to put a burden on you by giving you something that's not a fit. So let's be really, really certain that this is a fit, because I know you're about to fall in love with me because I'm amazing, I'm charming, I'm really good. And I don't want you to try to force a square peg in a round hole just because you want to spend time with me, which, funny enough, Zach, and I know I don't want to like brag, but that actually happens a lot to me. People enjoy hanging out with me. I'm a lot of fun. And I find that I will waste a lot of time enjoying the networking experience with somebody without ever aligning what is the greater value that we're trying to produce. So that's interesting.
yeah, right. Like you might not be giving the right gift in the right context if somebody immediately pulls out their gift and then you just set them down next to each other and you guys just sit there and talk about your gifts past each other, right? Like you see that at some of these networking events where like you'll talk to another founder and the founder will just start giving you unsolicited feedback, and like you'll be like, hey, I'm trying to change the world, doing it this way. And in my particular case, right now, the CEO of Hook Security, I get a lot of people who tell me my business model is wrong and my go-to-market through the channel is wrong. And
That's fantastic.
I get a lot of people who yeah, we largely sell through MSPs, MSSPs. Well, you really don't want to be doing that. That's a waste of your time. Those people will never sell anything. And then you're like, I'm just kind of giving you the gift of my presence and telling you, like, this is what we're here to do. And, you don't have to accept the gift, but to tell me on what terms they would accept it. Like, oh, I would totally buy into what you're saying if you were to change it. And you're just like, okay, if the context is there, that's fine. But most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's just unsolicited.
Yeah, but you just invited that person to be curious. You said, hey, I'm giving the gift of the opportunity to challenge one of your core beliefs. One of your core beliefs is that sales through the channel don't work. And you're like, oh, but that's our core business model. And they're either saying you're stupid because you picked that. Or actually, I mean, that is what it kind of comes across. Oh, that'll never work. You got to change it all now. No, you're like, okay, do you want to know about my personal experiences that validate the business model? Or do you just want to give me unsolicited advice based off of this gift I was trying to give you, which is a new way to look at, sales and go to market? It's when there's no curiosity involved. Now, I find myself guilty of that as well. We all have been programmed through our schools and through our society that he who has the right answer the fastest gets rewarded. Did you put your hand up quick enough? Did you get the math problem done fast enough? And so we're very programmed to deliver answers before we are curious. And so, I hear another thing that you're saying is it's not enough to come with the idea of giving gifts, but if you're not in a curiosity mindset, then you miss all gifts that come back to you. And you also leave having a horrible experience because the thing that you love and you care about that you're bringing to people, maybe they don't respond back in a way that affirms you. Man, humanity and human stuff is hard. You want to just do an app?
I know, right? And so I think that's the point, is that you should expect that people don't understand or appreciate when you give them gifts, and they're not aware when they're giving gifts to you. And so that's part of it. But it's also very telling, and like I said, it's kind of draining because you'll meet these quote CEOs who have, the scorecard in my stage of life is how much money have you raised, and these guys will have raised 10, 20, 30 million dollars, and then you talk with them and you realize that their business might be fine, whatever, but the person at an emotional, social intelligence level is not aware of what they're saying or doing. And if they are being manipulative. So you might as well assume the most gracious way that they're not being malicious and then ascribe it to ignorance. And so you end up in these interesting conversations. You're like, okay, so my ego usually steps in and says, well, if that Yahoo could raise money, then this Yahoo you're not as Yahoo as them. You can raise money. And so it's a weird mind game that I circled through, and I don't have a resolution to it. I'm just letting you know my own toxic mental state at times.
It's a hard fact of reality that those who are less worthy, intelligent, attractive, all the things than you will have more success than you. They're not correlative, right? That one doesn't relate to the other. Whether you're a Yahoo, so much goes into it. So much goes into what our scorecard is that we have to be really, really careful how we experience ourselves when looking at our scorecard compared to somebody else. So I resonate with the frustration I hear in your voice around that particular experience. Because I'm looking at it with my fund, right? I'm like, why did they just get 40 million? What exactly are they doing? Oh, in my head, people raise money based off of the relationships and the trust that other people have with them, not on merit. Merit kind of has to be there, right? There's some things that people need to look at, but at the end of the day, you can read the data wrong, and it all comes down to, do I trust this person, and who else trusts this person? And based off of those things, that's how money moves.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's a young lady recording a series of TikTok videos to my left, and it's hilarious because I can't hear the music. It looks like she's having a minor seizure. She's just flapping around. She hasn't gotten the take she wants yet. But yeah, if I don't seem fully present for our conversation, I'm rooting for this person. Get it done.
Yeah, she is dancing like no one's watching,
except everybody on the boardwalk. is absolutely watching. So
she knows that too. She knows that
Well-
too. She could have filmed that TikTok in the privacy of her own home, but she is out today.
yeah, Instagram worthy, baby.
That's right.
It's an interesting world.
Yeah, it is funny because like to maybe connect the 2 points about what does it mean to be accepted, like that young lady is willing to go out in public and risk, being rejected at the hopes that on TikTok she is accepted. And it's like, I am not too much and I'm not too little for you. I show up and you guys like my dancing, you like me. And
Yep.
so when raising funds, it feels very personal, as in like you're personally rejecting me or you're personally accepting me. And you risk a lot of rejection, and you do feel the rejection.
Well, that's business in general, right? You take your product to market, you try to hire somebody. When our identity is wrapped up so tightly in what we do, we really run a risk of when someone rejects what we do or what we're offering or what we're producing, to feel that objection deeply inside of you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And logically, you can know that. Logically, everyone can say that totally makes sense. Experiencing it in practice as a conscious human being who is humble in that they think of themselves accurately, not too much or too little, but have radical acceptance of exactly who they are, that's a whole different story. And that's something you work on every single day. That's not a thing that you cross a finish line and be like, I'm wholly woke, I'm totes cool now, brah. Nope, that's a every AM in the morning you get to be like, I wonder how I'm gonna show up today. I wonder how I'm gonna attach my identity today. I think I'm gonna be really obsessed about how people think about my sales funnel today. That should make me yell at my kids.
Is that your hot take today? Is that your takeaway?
Yeah. If you want to be a better parent, you got to work on your how you process your identity and the things that you do, and grace every morning. Because if you don't forgive yourself and don't give yourself permission to learn as you go through this process of giving gifts, of interacting with other people, and how you identify with the gifts that you're giving, it's gonna be a hard day. It's gonna be a real hard day. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
Got a hot take?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm encouraged by listening to you today is that in spite of all that could go wrong or all the rejection, etc., you still have a disposition that it's worth it, and the journey matters. And so, I might be able to get discouraged at a quicker pace than you, but you seem to get encouraged at a quicker pace than me as well. So I can just kind of keep up with your optimism, with your lean forwardness. And so it sounds like it's still worth it, even if we go out and risk it all like a TikTok influencer.
Just crushing it. I've pivoted my opinion over it. You got a girl.
Yes.
Hit it. All right, Dr. Eikenberry. This was delightful as ever. I'm having fun with these. It's fun to explore the transformation from entrepreneur to investor, and what does that look like having feet in both worlds.
Yeah, I like it too, man. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good one, Dr. Anderson.
Yeah, you too. I'll this up. Bye.
Hey, and thanks for joining us for the TSOB podcast. Find us on LinkedIn and give us your hot take. The whole reason we're doing this is to get access to better conversations that help us up our game. And if you have something you want to share, we want to hear about it. Find us on the TSOB LinkedIn group and jump in with 2 feet. We can't wait to chat.